New York had endured hurricanes, blizzards, blackouts, and floods. The city had survived nearly everything nature could throw at it. But on the night of January 18th, something arrived that no weather forecast could explain. At exactly 12:07 a.m., strange black flakes began falling over a small section of Central Park. At first, people thought it was ash drifting from a distant fire. But there were no flames anywhere in the city. The flakes were cold like snow, soft to the touch, and completely silent as they settled onto the ground. Oddly, the black snow covered only one part of the park. Just a few steps away, ordinary white snow continued to fall. Within minutes, police sealed off the area. Emergency vehicles lined the streets, their flashing lights reflecting against the dark blanket covering the ground. Witnesses claimed they heard whispers carried by the wind. Others reported seeing figures standing among the trees before disappearing into the darkness. By sunrise, 23 people had vanished without leaving a single trace. No bodies, no footprints leading away, only black snow remained. The city demanded answers, but no one knew where to begin. Among those following the story was Maya Carter, an investigative journalist known for chasing mysteries that everyone else ignored. She didn't believe in ghosts. She believed every mystery had a logical explanation. Determined to uncover the truth, Maya packed her professional camera, an audio recorder, a flashlight, and extra batteries. Just before dawn, she slipped through a section of police tape where no officers were watching. The moment she entered the restricted area, an icy chill spread through her body. The air felt unnaturally heavy. Every step produced a soft crunch as her boots pressed into the strange black snow. She knelt down and picked up a handful. It looked like ash, yet it melted like snow. A shiver ran down her spine. For the first time in years, Maya questioned whether she should continue. But curiosity pushed her forward. She switched on her camera. The investigation had begun. The deeper Maya walked into Central Park, the stranger the world became. The constant sound of New York traffic slowly faded away. Car horns disappeared, sirens vanished, even the wind stopped blowing. The silence was so complete that Maya could hear her own heartbeat echoing inside her ears. She swept her flashlight across the trees. The branches were bare, but strangely, none of them held any black snow. Only the ground was covered. It looked as though the darkness itself had chosen where to fall. A thick fog drifted between the trees, swallowing the walking trail ahead. The beam of her flashlight barely reached a few feet before disappearing into the mist. Then, she noticed something impossible. There were footprints in the snow. Fresh footprints, but no person was making them. One by one, new footprints slowly appeared in front of her. As if someone invisible had just begun walking through the park. Maya tightened her grip on the flashlight. Against every instinct telling her to run, she followed. The footprints continued appearing one after another. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Each step formed in the untouched black snow as though an invisible person was walking only a few feet ahead of Maya. She slowly followed, keeping her camera pointed at the moving trail. "Who's there?" she called. No answer. Only another footprint, then another. The trail led her off the main path and deeper into the oldest part of Central Park, where enormous oak trees blocked what little moonlight remained. Suddenly, the footprints stopped. Maya lifted her flashlight. Standing before her was an ancient oak tree, far larger than any she had ever seen. Its twisted branches stretched into the fog like skeletal hands. She stepped closer. The bark was covered with hundreds of names. Every name had a date beside it. Some were from the 1960s, others from the 1980s. Many were recent. She recognized several names from newspaper reports about people who had disappeared over the years. Her breathing became heavier. Then something impossible happened. The bark began to move. Fresh scratches appeared as if an invisible knife were carving into the tree. Slowly, letter by letter, a new name emerged, Maya Carter. She stumbled backward, nearly dropping her flashlight. No, this isn't real. Before she could move again, a cold gust of wind swept through the trees. The black snow began falling faster. The snowfall grew heavier until it looked like a dark curtain surrounding the ancient tree. Maya raised her camera and snapped several photographs. The flash briefly lit the forest. For a split second, she thought she saw dozens of people standing between the trees. When the darkness returned, they were gone. Her audio recorder suddenly switched on by itself. Static filled the speaker, then faint whispers, hundreds of voices speaking at once. She couldn't understand the words, until one voice became clear. "Leave, before it remembers you." Maya froze. Another whisper followed. Don't look behind you. Her heart pounded. Every instinct told her not to turn around. But curiosity won. Slowly, she looked over her shoulder. The fog behind her had become crowded with human shapes. Perfectly still. Watching. None of them moved. None of them blinked. Yet Maya could feel every one of them staring directly at her. The fog slowly drifted aside. Now she could see them clearly. Men, women, children, dozens of pale figures stood silently beneath the leafless trees. Their clothes belonged to different decades. Some wore modern winter jackets. Others wore fashions from 50 years ago. Their skin was as white as marble. Their eyes, completely black, no pupils, no whites, only endless darkness. Maya whispered, "Who are you?" No one answered. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then, every head turned toward her at the exact same moment. The movement was perfectly synchronized. Not 1 second apart. All together. The sound of cracking necks echoed through the silent park. Maya's legs refused to move. One little girl stepped forward. She couldn't have been older than 8. Snow covered her hair. She smiled gently and pointed toward the darkness beyond the trees. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, "He's coming." Instantly, every black-eyed figure took one slow step toward Maya. She turned and ran without looking back. The sound of hundreds of slow footsteps followed behind her through the falling black snow. Maya ran as fast as she could, her boots slipping across the black snow. She didn't dare look behind her. The slow footsteps continued. They never became faster, yet they never fell farther away. It was as if the entire park was following her. Suddenly, the snowfall became heavier. The black flakes swirled around her like a living storm. One landed on the back of her glove. Instead of melting, it moved. Maya stared in horror as a tiny human face appeared inside the snowflake. Its lips slowly opened. "Don't stop," it whispered. Another snowflake landed on her shoulder. "Run." Then another. "He sees you." Within seconds, dozens of black snowflakes covered her coat. Every one contained a different ghostly face, whispering desperate warnings. Maya screamed and brushed them away, but more kept falling from the sky. Her audio recorder crackled to life again. This time, the voices were clearer. Men, women, children, all crying for help. Then one deep voice silenced them all. "You stayed too long." Everything became quiet. Even the whispers stopped. Maya slowly looked ahead. Someone was waiting. Beside the frozen lake stood a tall figure wearing a long black overcoat. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. Black snow settled across his shoulders without melting. Maya cautiously raised her flashlight. The beam reached his face. And she froze. He had no face, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, only smooth, pale skin stretched across his head. Yet somehow, she heard him speak. Not through her ears, inside her mind. Every winter, the park collects memories. His voice echoed like hundreds of people speaking together. Those who enter, become part of the silence. The faceless man slowly lifted one hand and pointed behind Maya. She turned. The black-eyed crowd had returned. Hundreds of them now stood around the frozen lake. Perfectly silent, perfectly still. The little girl stepped forward again. This time she whispered, "Don't let him touch your shadow." The faceless man took his first step. The frozen surface of the lake cracked with a thunderous sound. Then another step. The temperature dropped so quickly that Maya could see frost spreading across her camera. She backed away, then turned and ran. Branches clawed at Maya's coat as she sprinted through the park. Every path twisted into another. Every turn led back to the same frozen trees. It was as though Central Park had become an endless maze. Behind her came the slow footsteps of the faceless man. He never ran. He didn't need to. Somehow, he was always getting closer. Maya burst into a large clearing and stopped. At its center stood an enormous stone fountain. But instead of water, countless streams of black snow rose upward from the basin into the sky, flowing against gravity. The sight was impossible. The swirling snow formed ghostly faces that silently screamed before disappearing into the clouds. The air vibrated with whispers. Around the fountain stood the missing people, forming a perfect circle. Their black eyes remained fixed on Maya. The faceless man entered the clearing. He slowly stretched out one hand toward her. The little girl suddenly shouted, "The gate! Find the gate before sunrise." For the first time, the frozen crowd stepped aside, revealing a narrow path hidden behind thick vines. At the end of it, Maya saw the outline of an old iron gate. Hope returned. She gathered every ounce of strength she had left and raced toward it as the faceless man followed in complete silence. Maya sprinted past the towering fountain as black snow continued to rise into the sky like smoke. The whispers became deafening. Thousands of voices cried out at once. Some begged her to stay. Others screamed for her to run. The frozen crowd slowly closed in from every direction. There was nowhere left to hide. The faceless man walked through them without making a sound. As he raised his hand, the black snow began swirling around Maya like a violent storm. Her flashlight went out. Her camera screen turned black. Only the audio recorder was still working. Through the static, she heard one sentence over and over again. "Leave before the sun remembers you." Maya looked ahead. Beyond the storm, she could barely make out the old iron gate hidden beneath tangled vines. It was her only chance. Holding her breath, she ran straight through the swirling black snow. Cold hands brushed against her coat. Invisible fingers grabbed at her backpack. She refused to look back. The ancient iron gate stood only a few steps away. Beyond it, Maya could see morning sunlight, busy streets, yellow taxis, and ordinary people beginning another day in New York. Normal life was just beyond her reach. She grabbed the rusted gate and pulled with all her strength. It refused to move. Behind her, the footsteps stopped. She slowly turned. The faceless man stood only a few feet away. Without eyes, he seemed to be staring directly into her soul. He slowly reached toward the ground. Maya noticed something horrifying. Her shadow was stretching across the snow, toward him. As his hand touched her shadow, she felt every memory of her childhood, her family, and her life slipping away. She remembered the little girl's warning. "Don't let him touch your shadow." Desperate, Maya tore a powerful flashlight from her backpack and aimed it at the rising sun. The first golden rays reflected into the faceless man's smooth face. A piercing, inhuman scream echoed through the park. The black snow instantly began turning white. The frozen crowd slowly faded into mist. The faceless man reached toward Maya one final time before his body crumbled into thousands of black snowflakes and disappeared into the morning wind. The gate finally swung open. Maya stumbled onto the sidewalk outside Central Park. When she looked back, the gate was gone. Only an ordinary stone wall remained. Days later, Maya returned to the television station. She reviewed the footage she had recorded that night. Every video file showed nothing unusual. No black snow, no frozen crowd, no faceless man, only empty winter paths through Central Park. Confused, she opened the final recording from her audio recorder. At first, there was silence. Then came her own voice. But she had never spoken these words. "If you're hearing this, don't come looking for me." The recording crackled. Another voice whispered from the darkness. "Deep, cold, impossible to mistake. Winter always returns." The file ended. Maya looked out the newsroom window. Outside, the season's first snowfall had begun. People smiled as white flakes drifted through the streets. Then, one single black snowflake landed on the glass directly in front of her. Inside it, a tiny human face slowly opened its eyes. It smiled. The newsroom lights flickered. When Maya looked outside again, the snow was completely white. The black snowflake had vanished. She never spoke publicly about what happened in Central Park. But every January, on the night of the first snowfall, she leaves the city before sunset. Because she knows the truth. Somewhere beneath the silent trees of Central Park, the faceless man is waiting for winter. And when the black snow falls again, someone else will hear the whispers. Someone else will follow the footprints. And someone else will become part of the silence. The end.